You're listening to the Visionary Lifestyle Podcast, the show that's dedicated to raising consciousness and empowering you to activate your highest potential. I'm your host, Magda Freedom Rod. Namaste, my rainbow warriors. Greetings from Bali. Yes, I'm still here, and I've got a great show for you. Our guest today is Julian Silburn, and Julian is from Perth, Australia, and is a didgeridoo healer, performer, and teacher with a passionate interest in Aboriginal culture and music. Julian has been taught by a number of indigenous elders in Western Australia, and having collaborated with them musically and culturally over many years, he has their blessing and approval for using the didgeridoo in his healing, performance, and teaching work. In all these activities, he aims to respectfully impart the spirit of what he was taught and to connect people with nature through various rhythms, songs, and nature calls. I attended one of Julian's sound healing offerings at Bali Spirit Festival and was called to dive deeper into his intentions and what potential sound healing holds for us. And oh my gosh, he really delivered. I can't wait for you guys to hear this conversation. Now, Julian is a super interesting person. He has developed a bunch of beautiful instruments. Make sure you look at my Instagram to see the pictures of him. He just released a gold-plated crystal didgeridoo. It's mind-blowing. And I was so blessed after this conversation I had with him. He did a beautiful sound healing with his crystal didgeridoo all over my body as I laid in the jungle. And I'm telling you, there is a lot of medicine coming through this amazing guy. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. By the way, this conversation was recorded in one of the pyramids of Chi. And if you don't know what the pyramids of Chi are, there are some pyramids here in Bali that you may not know about. And I have an interview with the creator of the pyramids of Chi coming up on this show later in the season as well. So stay tuned for that. But what a blessing, this entire experience of meeting Julian and getting to experience his healing and his presence. What a sweet guy. Thank you, Julian, for being with us, and hope you guys enjoy the show. Namaste. Julian Silburn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
What a treat to be sitting here in a pyramid,
a
pyramid
awesome,
of Chi for this interview. It's how appropriate, right?
Yeah.
So appropriate. We just met at the Bali Spirit Festival, gratefully, and I got to take your class, and Solfeggio Frequencies.
Yes.
Woo! Let's start with that. This has come into my awareness recently, and I'm really looking for a deeper understanding of what that is and the power that it carries.
Sure. Yeah, so Solfeggio Frequencies is something that goes back, I think it's something like 12th century, but the monks were chanting, and they worked with this 5-note scale, which is the solfeggio scale. Mm-hmm. And it was a particularly healing and powerful chant, and I think it's in more recent times there was a lot of study into why those particular hymns, and there was a hymn to the John the Baptist and things that were based on the solfeggio scale, and different scientists were looking at these frequencies and trying to work out why, they were so powerful in people's meditations and healings and things like that. So, from what I understand, it is based on sacred geometry. So, the particular tuning of these particular frequencies that are found within this scale match the perfect circle that's found as part of the pi ratio. Mm-hmm. And our body and everything in the universe is from circles, right. Spirals of creation, and our energy vortexes within our chakras and our cells, and the Visa Pisces, the building blocks of creation, mm-hmm. all based on these perfect circles.
Right.
So basically, the solfeggio contains the geometry on a frequency level that's a little bit different to our standard tuning. So you know, there's different hertz frequencies for tuning different things like 432 or 444. So the frequencies that are found within solfeggio is just a few hertz difference, but when they analyse the imagery that comes from these frequencies, that little bit is quite a lot.
Makes
so
all the
just
difference.
a few hertz to bring it into the perfect circle. And with that perfect circle, then that circle then radiates and radiates and radiates. But if it's not exact, then that duplication effect is not exact. It doesn't keep on replicating in the same way. So in terms of that, how it affects the human being, they've discovered that certain frequencies, like the 5 to 8 frequency, that they've discovered helps with any kind of condition where there's any kind of distortion in the energy field based, you know, on disease or illness or anything like that. It can affect the cellular structure. So by using using the resonance of 5 to 8, it actually helps to reconfigure the geometry to bring it back into its wholeness.
Okay.
And they're using that with young babies, you know, that putting headphones on young babies and things that are showing signs that there might be, you know, disease or something that's just not quite right. And apparently it's been incredibly effective for helping the geometry in that malleable state when you're an infant to find its proper, you know, harmony. And so it's very healing on a cellular level. And the tones correspond to the chakras, correspond to the chakras below our base chakra, like the earth star frequencies, the soul star frequencies, the higher frequencies of our higher dimensional existence. So by playing and through entrainment, sustaining these pure tones, it just reminds, it's like the blueprint. It's just reminding your energetic blueprint of its absolute alignment. So yeah, it's something I actually did for about 10 months, where we combined solfeggio frequencies with colour, and we just noticed how that was affecting people, and yeah, it's just incredible. It is very, very healing, and it connects more with us as a multi-dimensional being.
And what were you noticing when you were noticing how it affected people? Like, what did you see?
So just going into a very, very deep space, going into theta states, going into these states where everything starts to align, and people's experience was just like, it's a real sense of comfort and support and nourishing and nurturing, because you're just feeding the divine blueprint of your, it's just you're in that field of energy, so it is very nurturing and very supportive and comforting, and it just yeah, it's tuning you on a different level of being. So I find it much easier to meditate with those frequencies, especially when it's supported and surrounded by music as well, not just the pure frequency, which I find a bit too much just on its own. Some people use that, like they'll say almost, you know, they'll say listen to that frequency for, you know, 10 minutes a day, and then go through the different frequencies and attune yourself that way. But I really like it when it's supported by music, and that, yeah, it just gives you that human creative element to connect with.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we did at the festival in that class was we went through the chakras, and we did someone was chanting. It was your partner, right? What's her name?
Yeah, so my colleague, we worked together, Kate Perotto, who's Fremantle Yoga Centre. She really was the reason I got to Bali Spirit Festival.
Oh, great.
She put in the good word for me, and Yeah, and the workshops. So yeah, we did yoga and music, sacred music together. But it was actually a woman called Maya Tawari. You may be familiar with her. She works with Deepak Chopra from time to time. They co-host events, but she's from a Vedic background, and she completely healed herself when she was a young woman through something called, what she calls the living ahimsa, which is taking a vow of inner harmony and through your thoughts, speech and actions. And she said it was what was keeping her unwell, and well, she wasn't even expecting to live, but she didn't want to take any sort of problems or issues into her next incarnation. So as a part of her just resolving all the conflicts within herself, she developed this practice of ahimsa, and she completely healed herself, where they said she wasn't going to live.
Through sound?
Through sound.
Okay.
Yeah, through all her knowledge, but using mantra, like the vows. I take the vow of ahimsa. I make inner harmony my first priority. I take the vow of ahimsa in my thoughts, speech and actions. And it's just a mantra that she developed. And all sorts of stuff was clearing and releasing as part of that. But when she came to Australia, I met her, and she had satsangs, and she talked about...
Is this Mother Maya?
Mother Maya, yes.
Ah, see, I didn't know her full name, but I know of Mother Maya.
Yeah, Mother Maya.
A small leap in human consciousness that is a giant leap for mankind is one of her quotes that I've used in my teaching.
Just
so it's the same Mother Maya.
Such an amazing being.
And,
and through people just being in that and her teaching that, people have had these incredible healings, because it's the conflict that we hold in within ourselves, all the sort of, stuff that doesn't make us feel inharmonious with ourselves. It's like that's the root of it.
Right.
Anyway, she came from that Vedic lineage, and she taught me the practice of the bija mantras, which is using the seed mantra to activate each of the chakras. So we combine the seed mantras with the Solfeggio Frequencies.
Right, it's so powerful.
And there's an Indian man in Perth called Pavan, and he is very connected on that spiritual level to the Indian tradition. So he actually created some beautiful atmospheric synth music that we're working on together, and we'll bring something out to people coming up. But it's just that, just going into that pure nurturing space, and using sound, sacred sound, to activate the highest potential within the geometries within our body. Yeah.
I can't believe you just said those words. That's my tagline: activating your highest potential. And here we are talking about precisely that from yet another direction. That's so beautiful. I'm glad you said that. So that was powerful. We were laying down, and then there was the music, and you were playing the didge as well, right? And then she was chanting the seed mantras, and I think I fell asleep during that, and I just woke up at the end, and it felt like it was 5 minutes, but I guess we were there for about 45 minutes, and I'm sure that subconsciously, since I was in such a relaxed state, I really received a lot of healing through that.
It is.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I mean, the whole theme of that, Bali Spirit Festival was return to source, and for me, I was saying to people in the last workshop of the festival, I was really struggling with all the different sounds and all the different energies and just so much going on. Yeah. And I was almost just like oversaturated, and I was like, I'm just going to have to surrender. I can't try and block this sound out, this sound or that sound. I'm just going to have to renew myself through just surrendering. Go back into the pool of, source. Right. And just be, And it worked.
It worked.
And it was lucky that Kate found me, kind of because I was just completely out to it, and we had a workshop to run, so it was good she found me. But it's that sort of thing. I think it's like, and there's an Aboriginal elder here, Dr. Richard Wally, who's a elder, a Noongar elder from Perth, and he shared with me when he was here that the whole thing of water is what connects us all. There's water between all of our countries. You know, the water is, you know, it evaporates from the oceans and the rivers, and it's taken into the atmosphere, and then it's shared somewhere else in the world, and you know, and we're all. That's how we're all connected, is through the water, and then of course the sacred intention behind all the water energy. And Bali, for me, that was the major medicine that I received from this place, was all the beautiful water temples and running water places. We went to Sabatu, which is this incredible sanctuary for Mother Earth. Just these steps that just wind their way down into this tropical ravine where there's water, and you know, people doing offerings and taking flowers into the water and offering the flowers and the incense and everything. It was just so special and sacred, and you know, it's just that. It's just the simplicity. I think that's, you know, as a people, we're just overcomplicating everything, and for me, nature is where it's at. When I connect with nature, that's my connection to source.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Of course, we are nature beings, but we're living in this man-made, sort of created,
right,
you know, thing. And my time with indigenous people has been reconnecting with something. I grew up very much in the country area and surrounded by nature, and my parents took me a lot to very sacred, you know, nature places with waterfalls and running water, and that was my early upbringing. So I think anyone who's sort of had that sort of orientation or you know, gifting, it's where to go, you know, to find that sanctity.
Yeah, I love that idea of us all being connected with the water. I agree, and it makes total sense. I would love to talk for a minute about your very special crystal didgeridoo, which is, tell us about that. I think that's a one of a kind, is that right?
It is. In terms of its form, there have been people making some quartz crystal didgeridoos in the States and in Europe. I suppose I really was inspired to make something that was more similar to what I had learnt how to make through my time with Indigenous people. So I lived and worked with Indigenous people, where the first didgeridoo came from up in Arnhem Land, and a lot of those Arnhem Land people lived around Darwin. So I had an apprenticeship learning how to make what they call the yidaki. And it's a particular style of didgeridoo which I've learned how to understand all the proportions in order to get the absolute, you know, most from the sound. So I was really inspired to want to make a quartz crystal didgeridoo. So
and what is the power of this instrument?
Okay.
I don't know much about the history of it and the healing potential of it. The
didgeridoo, the yidaki, has been played for at least 10,000 years. And they can definitely say that it's 10,000 years old because of the cave paintings that show them playing it. But it may be far older than we can really accurately estimate. You know, possibly all the way back to our non-physical, you know, origins. And a lot of the ancestor beings for the Aboriginal people were non-physical beings that taught them a lot of their knowledge and stories. So anyway, the yidaki is used for ceremony and for healing, and that's where I started to really understand the didgeridoo from its healing side of things. That little sound in the background is a big lizard.
Are you serious?
Yeah, a big lizard. That
is it behind me?
No, it lives between the layers of the pyramid.
Whoa!
And it's a nice little surprise element that comes in.
It sounded like someone sweeping.
I know.
I thought you were looking behind me. I was like, you're trying to tell me there's a giant lizard behind me.
And I'm in my imagination, I'm going, how big is this thing? It sounds really big.
It sounds huge.
But it's actually not in the actual space.
So do we have an understanding about how this instrument heals?
Came to be,
or no, how it heals?
How it heals, yeah. So basically, like many other instruments, that process of one vibration connecting with another vibration, entrainment, the whole thing of resonance. So one resonant field connecting with another resonant field. The strong and powerful. The good thing about the yidaki, the didgeridoo, is that it can be really directed around the aura of the body, which I feel is actually probably more powerful than even specifically targeting areas on the body, although that can be very important. From what I've seen with Indigenous people, the way I've seen them heal is often playing directly into the heart chakra.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from a science sort of point of view, they're discovering more things about that, like the vagus nerve, you know, connecting from the base of the spine, going down through the into the heart, into the stomach. There's this whole nervous system, and when you stimulate
The base of the neck.
yeah. When you stimulate the vagus nerve, it actually sends energy and vibration through all those nerve endings, which can activate a really big healing response. So that's something that I've come to sort of understand more from the science. Actually, my dad's a professor of psychology, and he's sort of like always interested in the science of how things work, and he was looking at the whole didgeridoo thing, and he, you know, he really sort of, and he encouraged me to look at that side of things, and I think on a scientific level that's really how it works. Like, but of course, you know, the didgeridoo, because it is of sacred origin, it connects with, you know, with intention and with invocation. It's a channel for universal energy to flow to the person, and with all the support and assistance of, you know, guides, teachers, masters, healers, angelics, animal totems, whatever, you know, it's a conduit, and it's what people use that energy for that gives them meaning and purpose and potentially healing. And I think, as you said earlier before, it's a belief. If you and recently a Tibetan Lama said it as well. He said, you know, there's all these ceremonies and things that we do, but if you don't believe in it, it's not gonna, you can do it forever and it won't work. Yeah. But if you have a belief in it, that belief builds, and then that becomes something that is tangibly can be used for. It builds. It's a resonance that continues to build, and then it's something that you just keep on connecting to. So it's a vibration, that energy that builds. So yeah, but it is of sacred origin, so it has a huge healing effect. Aboriginal people say it is the sound of Mother Earth. You know, we're receiving the healing energy of Mother Earth.
Yum, there it is. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for your insight and your expertise on all of this, and your answering the call to deliver your gifts in this way on planet Earth. We need you. Thank you, Julian.
Yeah, pleasure.
Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thanks so much for answering the call to be here today. I'm so glad you're part of our tribe of activated rainbow warriors. If you found the show in any way empowering or inspiring, I would be so grateful if you would share the show on social media or with friends and family that you think would benefit from these conversations. And also, rate and review the show in iTunes. This is really the very best way to help support the show and help us get noticed by others who are looking for the sort of content that we're sharing. Now notice there are no outside ads playing here. That's because the show is supported by you, the listener. You can become a patron of the show with a small monthly donation by checking out the perks on our Patreon page at patreon.com/visionary lifestyle and signing up there. There's also a one-time donation button on the podcast page of the website if that suits you better. And just so you know, your donations help to cover the necessary out-of-pocket monthly expenses to produce the show, and will also help us grow so we can inspire and educate even more people. And hey tribe, I'd love to hear from you. Visit me at visionary-lifestyle.com and please tell me your comments and questions. I really look forward to connecting with you. I love you. Namaste.